You know what's absolutely mind-blowing? Right now, as you're watching this, there's a phenomenon happening in our skies that could reveal the deepest secrets of human consciousness itself. We're talking about something that's been witnessed by millions, documented by governments, and yet remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time. But here's the twist that'll make you question everything you thought you knew. This isn't really about little green men from outer space. What if I told you that one of the greatest minds in psychology spent over a decade studying flying saucers, not to prove they're real, but to unlock the hidden workings of your own mind? If you're ready to have your perception of reality completely transformed, then hit that like button and let's dive into Carl Jung's revolutionary take on UFOs that'll change how you see the world forever. Picture this. It's the 1940s. World War II has just ended, and suddenly the skies are filled with mysterious objects that seem to defy everything we know about physics. Flying saucers, UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, they're everywhere. But while most people are looking up at the sky trying to figure out what these things are, Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychiatrist, is looking inward into the human psyche. Now, Jung wasn't some conspiracy theorist or UFO enthusiast. This guy was one of the founding fathers of modern psychology, the man who gave us concepts like the collective unconscious and archetypes. And when he turned his analytical mind to the UFO phenomenon, what he discovered was absolutely revolutionary. From the very beginning, Jung was fascinated by UFO reports, not as potential evidence of alien visitation, but as what he called symbolical rumours. Think about that for a moment. He's suggesting that these sightings might be something far more profound than just misidentified aircraft or extraterrestrial visitors. He spent over a decade, right up until his death in 1961, collecting every book and report he could find on the subject. But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is something that even the press of his time got completely wrong. Jung wasn't trying to debunk UFOs or prove they were all in people's heads. His position was beautifully simple yet mind-bendingly complex. Something is seen, but it isn't known what. Whether that something is physical or psychic, both are realities, just different kinds of realities. Now, before you start thinking this is getting too philosophical, let me blow your mind with what Jung discovered about the human psyche through studying UFOs. He realized that these sightings weren't random. They were emerging from something he called the collective unconscious, a shared psychological space that all humans tap into. You see, Jung understood that we're living through what he called visionary rumors, stories that spread not because they're necessarily true in a physical sense, but because they express something our souls desperately need to hear. And what our souls are crying out for, especially in our modern world, is salvation. Think about it, we've just witnessed the horrors of 2 world wars. We're living under the constant threat of nuclear annihilation, and our traditional religious beliefs are crumbling. Into this psychological void come these mysterious flying objects, and our unconscious minds immediately project onto them the figure of a savior. We assume these beings of superior intelligence are peaceful, that they've come to save us from ourselves. But Jung went even deeper. He connected UFO sightings to historical patterns that'll make your head spin. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Jung documented cases throughout history where multiple people saw things that weren't physically there, or at least weren't visible to everyone present. He experienced this himself during a séance where 4 out of 5 people saw a moon-like object floating above a medium's body. The 4 witnesses couldn't understand why Jung couldn't see what was so clearly there to them. This brings us to one of Jung's most profound insights. The psychological reality of UFOs doesn't depend on their physical reality. Whether these objects exist in the material world or not, they exist as psychic realities, and that makes them incredibly powerful forces in human consciousness. Now, let me share something with you that'll completely change how you think about these phenomena. Jung analyzed the shapes most commonly reported in UFO sightings: circular discs, spheres, sometimes cigar-shaped objects. To most people, these are just descriptions of spacecraft. But to Jung, these shapes revealed something extraordinary about the human psyche. The circular form, Jung realized, represents what he called the mandala, a Sanskrit word meaning circle or completion. This symbol appears in cultures worldwide as a representation of psychological wholeness, the integration of all aspects of the self. The fact that people are seeing circular objects in the sky during times of crisis suggests that our unconscious minds are desperately seeking wholeness, completeness, salvation. But wait, it gets even more mind-blowing. Jung had his own UFO dream that reveals the deepest layers of this phenomenon. In October 1958, he dreamed of seeing metallic, lens-shaped discs flying near his house. Then one approached him directly, a perfectly circular lens. As he watched, another object appeared, a lens connected to a box, like a magic lantern projecting images. When Jung woke up, still half in the dream, this thought passed through his mind. We always think that the UFOs are projections of ours. Now it turns out that we are their projections. I am projected by the magic lantern as C.G. Jung. But who manipulates the apparatus? Think about what this means. Jung is suggesting that maybe we're not the ones creating these visions. Maybe consciousness itself, something larger than our individual minds, is projecting our reality. This connects to another dream he had where he saw a yogi meditating and realized the yogi had his face. The terrifying thought came to him, so he is the one who is meditating me. He has a dream and I am it. This idea that consciousness might be the fundamental reality, and what we call physical existence might be a kind of projection or dream, is absolutely revolutionary. And UFOs, according to Jung, are symbols emerging from this deeper level of reality to guide us toward wholeness. Now, you might be wondering about the timing of all this. Why did UFO sightings explode after World War II? Jung had a brilliant explanation that ties into something called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal the hidden connections between inner and outer reality. The post-war period brought unprecedented anxiety about nuclear destruction and totalitarianism. Humanity was facing the very real possibility of annihilating itself. At exactly this moment in history, people began seeing objects in the sky that seemed to represent hope, advanced beings who might save us from our own destructive tendencies. But here's the kicker. Jung connected this to the concept of astrological ages. We're transitioning from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, a shift that happens roughly every 2,200 years and brings fundamental changes in human consciousness. UFOs, Jung suggested, are harbingers of this transformation. The circular UFOs represent the zodiacal circle itself, the eternal wheel of life through which human consciousness evolves. We're quite literally seeing symbols of our own spiritual evolution, projected into the sky during this crucial transition period. Now, let me take you deeper into something that'll absolutely fascinate you: the connection between UFOs and religious experience. Jung analyzed the case of Orfi Angelucci, an Italian mechanic who claimed to have been contacted by extraterrestrial beings. But Jung's interpretation of Orfi's experiences reveals something profound about the nature of spiritual awakening. Orfi's encounters began with physical symptoms, a prickling sensation, and feeling unwell. Jung recognized this as what he called abasement du niveau mental, a lowering of the mental level that creates conditions for psychic phenomena to emerge. In this altered state, Orfi saw glowing objects and heard voices telling him not to be afraid. The beings Orfi encountered offered him a crystal cup containing the most delicious beverage I had ever tasted. They showed him perfect human forms on a three-dimensional screen and spoke of humanity's spiritual destiny. Most significantly, they revealed themselves as older brothers who had been observing human development for centuries. Jung interpreted this entire experience as a religious initiation disguised in modern technological language. Instead of angels appearing with divine messages, we get space beings with advanced technology delivering essentially the same spiritual teachings that mystics have reported throughout history. The beings told Orphe that humans are infinitely more important to us than to your fellow earthlings because you are not aware of the true mystery of your being. They spoke of Jesus as the Lord of the Flame and revealed that every person has a spiritual, unknown self which transcends the material world. At the climax of his experience, Orphe underwent what can only be described as spiritual rebirth. A white flash of lightning blazed forth. He saw his entire life clearly. This brings us to one of Jung's most important insights about UFOs and modern spirituality. Because we live in a technological age, our unconscious minds express spiritual experiences in technological terms. Instead of receiving visions of angels descending from heaven, we see advanced spacecraft operated by benevolent extraterrestrials. Same archetypal pattern, different cultural clothing. But there's another layer to this phenomenon that'll blow your mind: the emergence of crop circles. Jung's student Gary Bobroff analyzed these formations and discovered they represent the return of what Jung called the archetypal feminine. You see, our modern world has become disconnected from the feminine principle, from nature, from the body, from the mysterious processes of life, death, and rebirth. We've become obsessed with rationalism, materialism, and technological control. But the psyche seeks balance, and when something is repressed, it returns in symbolic form. Crop circles appear in grain fields, and grain has been sacred to humanity since the agricultural revolution. It represents the mystery of life emerging from apparent death, of consciousness arising from matter. Ancient cultures worshipped grain goddesses who embodied this principle of fertile creativity. The circular patterns in these formations mirror the mandala symbols that Jung knew represented psychological wholeness. As crop circles evolved from simple circles to complex geometric patterns, they visually represented the evolution of consciousness itself, the self-archetype manifesting in the physical world. The fact that these formations appear in grain, food that literally sustains human life, suggests that our disconnection from the feminine principle isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. We've lost our sense of the sacred in everyday life, our connection to the mysterious processes that sustain existence itself. Now, here's where Jung's insights become absolutely crucial for understanding our current moment in history. He believed we're witnessing the birth pangs of a new form of consciousness, one appropriate for the coming age of Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign associated with the movement of energy through space, with communication, with the transmission of information across vast distances. Sound familiar? We're living through the emergence of global communication networks, artificial intelligence, and technologies that would seem magical to previous generations. But Jung warned that this transition wouldn't be easy. He spoke of mass hysteria, arising from archetypal pressure of tremendous intensity. When vast groups of people are under tension from the same psychological forces, extraordinary phenomena can manifest in the collective consciousness. This is where UFOs become crucially important. They serve as what Jung called projection carriers, hooks upon which the unconscious can hang its most important symbols. In our desperate need for meaning and salvation, we project onto these mysterious phenomena all our hopes for transcendence. But here's the profound part. Jung never dismissed the possibility that UFOs might be physically real as well. He wrote, "It boils down to nothing less than this. that either psychic projections throw back a radar echo, or else the appearance of real objects affords an opportunity for mythological projections. In other words, even if UFOs are real physical phenomena, their psychological meaning remains the same. They still function as symbols of transformation, still carry the projection of humanity's spiritual hopes and fears. Jung even entertained a third possibility that's absolutely mind-bending: that UFOs might represent something at the intersection of mind and matter, phenomena that bridge the gap between psychological and physical reality. He called this the psychoid realm, a level of existence that transcends the usual categories of mental and material. This connects to Jung's concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal the hidden order underlying apparent chaos. Perhaps UFO phenomena represent synchronistic events occurring at a collective level, moments when the boundary between inner and outer reality becomes permeable. Jung's exploration of historical UFO reports reveals that these phenomena have been with humanity for centuries, if not millennia. The Basel broadsheet of 1566 describes large black globes moving before the sun with great speed, turning against each other as if fighting. The Nuremberg broadsheet of 1561 reports globes of various colors, along with crosses and large tubes, all appearing to battle in the sky before falling to Earth. These historical accounts suggest that whatever UFOs represent, they're not a modern phenomenon. They're part of a recurring pattern in human experience, archetypal visions that emerge during periods of transition and crisis. Jacques Vallée, often called the father of modern UFO studies, expanded on Jung's insights by documenting similar patterns in folklore, religious traditions, and modern UFO encounters. He found consistent themes. Beings from another realm who interact with humans, gather samples from our world, sometimes provide healing or spiritual teachings, but always remain essentially mysterious and elusive. Vallée suggests that these phenomena might represent a control system operating on human consciousness itself. Whether the beings are extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or purely psychological, their effect on witnesses is consistently transformative. They challenge our assumptions about reality, expand our sense of what's possible, and often trigger profound spiritual experiences. This brings us to one of the most important aspects of Jung's UFO research: the recognition that these phenomena serve as modern vehicles for spiritual experience. Diana Pasulka's research confirms that UFO encounters often produce the same psychological effects as traditional religious experiences: ontological shock, transformation of worldview, and a sense of contact with something greater than oneself. But there's a crucial difference in our modern context. Unlike previous eras when spiritual experiences were understood within established religious frameworks, UFO encounters often leave witnesses isolated and confused. They've experienced something profound, but our materialistic culture provides no adequate context for understanding it. This creates what Jung called a meaning crisis. People have transcendent experiences, but no way to integrate them into their daily lives. The contrast between extraordinary encounter and ordinary existence can be profoundly alienating, like Kafka's protagonist in The Metamorphosis, who wakes up transformed but still worries about being late for work. Jung believed that UFOs emerge as compensation for this spiritual emptiness in modern life. Our rational, technological civilization has cut us off from the transcendent dimensions of existence. The unconscious responds by producing visions that reconnect us with mystery, with the possibility of realities beyond our current understanding. The mandala symbolism of UFOs represents the psyche's attempt to heal this split. The circular form suggests wholeness, integration, the union of opposites. At the deepest level, UFO phenomena might represent the unconscious mind's effort to restore balance to human consciousness. But Jung also saw a darker possibility. UFOs could represent ships of death, harbingers of massive transformation that might include the destruction of our current civilization. In an age of nuclear weapons and ecological collapse, the appearance of mysterious objects in our skies might signal that fundamental changes are coming, whether we're prepared for them or not. The beings in UFO encounters often deliver warnings about humanity's destructive tendencies, urging us towards spiritual evolution before it's too late. Whether these messages come from actual extraterrestrials or from our own collective wisdom, they carry urgent relevance for our current global crises. Jung's analysis suggests that the UFO phenomenon is intimately connected to humanity's next evolutionary step. We're being called to integrate the rational and the mystical, the technological and the spiritual, the individual and the collective. The circular symbolism of UFOs represents this process of integration, the creation of a new form of consciousness appropriate for the Aquarian age. As we move deeper into the 21st century, Jung's insights become increasingly relevant. We're witnessing unprecedented global connectivity, artificial intelligence, and technologies that blur the boundary between mind and matter. The phenomena Jung analyzed decades ago seem to be accelerating and intensifying. The recent government acknowledgement of UFO reality, the release of military footage showing objects that seem to defy known physics, and the growing scientific interest in these phenomena all suggest we're entering a new phase of this mystery. But Jung's greatest insight remains. Whether UFOs are nuts and bolts spacecraft or manifestations of collective consciousness, their psychological significance is profound. They represent humanity's deepest yearning for transcendence, for contact with something greater than ourselves, for solutions to problems that seem beyond our current capabilities. The circular discs that people see in our skies mirror the circular mandala that represents wholeness in human psychology. At the deepest level, UFO phenomena might be the universe's way of showing us a mirror, reflecting back our own potential for transformation. Jung's final thoughts on UFOs carried both warning and hope. He recognized that we're living through a period of unprecedented change, a transformation that might take centuries to complete. Many things will have to change, he wrote, before the new formula for the realization of humanity can emerge. The UFO phenomenon represents both the crisis and the opportunity of our times. As symbols emerging from the collective unconscious, they point toward the possibility of expanded consciousness, of breakthrough to new levels of understanding about the nature of reality itself. But they also warn of the dangers of remaining stuck in old patterns of thinking and being. The choice is ours. Will we grow into the new consciousness that these phenomena seem to herald, or will we remain trapped in the limitations that threaten our survival? Jung's exploration of UFOs ultimately reveals them to be what they've always been claimed to be, harbingers of transformation. Not necessarily the technological salvation that our rational minds imagine, but something far more profound. The possibility of psychological and spiritual evolution that could fundamentally change what it means to be human. Whether you believe UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft, psychological projections, or something beyond our current categories of understanding, Jung's analysis offers a roadmap for navigating this mystery. By looking within as well as up at the skies, we might discover that the answers we seek aren't just out there. They're also in here, in the depths of our own consciousness, waiting to be integrated into a new vision of human possibility. The UFO phenomenon challenges us to expand our definition of reality, to consider possibilities that transcend our current scientific and philosophical frameworks. In doing so, it serves its most important function: awakening us to the mystery and potential that surrounds and fills every moment of our existence. As T.S. Eliot wrote, "The end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." Perhaps the UFO phenomenon is guiding us on exactly such a journey, leading us back to ourselves with new eyes, ready to recognize the extraordinary nature of ordinary existence and our own role in the cosmic dance of consciousness. If this exploration of Jung's revolutionary insights has opened your mind to new possibilities, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what aspect of this mystery fascinates you most. Are we on the verge of the greatest discovery in human history, or are we discovering something that's been with us all along? The answer might transform everything you thought you knew about consciousness, reality, and your own infinite potential.